We've just had an amazing retreat, an amazing immersion where we've been able to maybe taste something different to our normal everyday lives, right? We've been able to experience a different pace, a different quality, maybe a different way of eating, a different way of being in ourselves. And it may have felt good, really good, and that you want to maintain a little bit of that in your life and create your life as this kind of immersion into yourself, as a way to bring more awareness, more clarity, more calmness to your days. And so in Ayurveda, we know that is sattva, and Igor has talked about that in the immersion, how bringing in that quality of sattva, and what that means is balance, calm, tranquility, lightness, clarity. And the way that we achieve that really is by giving ourselves space for reflection, by eating foods that are wholesome and that have lots of nutrients to nourish the tissues of the body, and by choosing activities throughout our day that are going to support our physiology the most that we can. So just a short background on myself and how I came to Ayurveda. This might be helpful because my life wasn't always, the way it is now. And 20 years ago, I would have been rushing around London, being a busy personal trainer, and my life was not like in balance at all. I thought I was doing something for my health and healthy, and on the outside it may have looked like I was healthy, but internally I was on the verge of burnout. And so about 2018, I gave my first workshop in Ayurvedic cooking. I'd already been enjoying creating meals and architecting my own lifestyle to be more sattvic since 2012. That was when my blog went online, kind of sharing about my discoveries, the recipes and such. And really, what Ayurveda did was it gave me a different lens, a different perspective from anything that I'd seen in the West. And I really was searching for balance. I knew I wanted it, but I didn't know where to find it until I found Ayurveda. And so I want to impress and inspire you, hopefully, today through this workshop, in how you can create more space. I love to call it sacred space throughout your day, moments of pause and reflection, slowing down, and really ritual. And what ritual is really creating purpose and meaning through little choices that you make for yourself from the morning until the evening. And so you'll notice, hopefully by the end of today, where you'll be able to create more space for yourself, more space to be able to rejuvenate and recharge. I also would like to share with you something that I am not an expert on by any means. I am deeply passionate about Tantra and the relationship that Ayurveda has to support and sustain that. So we've said that many times during this immersion, that yoga and Ayurveda are always studied together. And that is because yoga is this tool, how to find more self-realization, to go beyond the body. And yet we have Ayurveda as a support, a way to care for ourselves in the most nourishing way. And they do fit together. And so what I'm going to try and do is really give us a sense of what is happening during awakening. And so you might see me look at my notes, that's fine. And then we're going to bridge that by teaching you the self-care in how to kind of counteract those effects of awakening. And so that's really what my plan is. And I'm really hoping that you're going to enjoy this, because this is really fascinating. You know, it's really, I'm one of those people that, you know, I just like to know why I'm doing something, and, you know, how I can do it in the most efficient and effective way. And so that's what I want to share. Okay, so first of all, let's go into this more like what is happening during awakening to your endocrine system. Okay, and we're going to share. So Ayurveda doesn't even talk about the endocrine system, to be honest. It talks about the chakra system. And so the chakras are very close to the endocrine glands. And this is where the modern day science comes into this. So we know that the practices that we've been doing all week long, they have, you know, stirred up, activated our different brain cortexes. They have kind of like activated different glands. And so the main one that you may even feel or experience is in the brain, right? This region, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. And so a lot of people experience, when the Kundalini awakening happens, this pressure on the head, pressure at the top of the head, pressure at the side of the head in the parietal lobes and the front lobe, the third eye. So, and that is because we are affecting the DMN, which is it's a region of the brain which is linked to mind wandering and our self-referral thinking. And what happens is, when this activity happens in the brain, it's associated with more coherence. And so you may experience more states of mindfulness, or where the ego is disillusioned, and we report feeling more free. And so scientists have studied this. They've studied what happens during Kundalini. And so we've got the increased gamma waves activities of the brain, and that's linked to heightened states of consciousness, as you know, more energetic sensations rising up the spine, and physical vibrations and heat, all the things that we've been experiencing, and I'm sure that you can relate to. And this is because there's some rewiring happening in your nervous system. And so the pineal gland, which we know is the master gland, and this has control over the entire endocrine system. And it may kind of result in, you know, enhanced awareness. It may also change circadian rhythms in your body. So your sleep may be better or it may be worse. You may become more sensitive to light as this gland is activated. Then we have the thyroid and the parathyroid around the throat chakra. And I'm sure you can link this back to the sutras, which is really lovely, right? So this gets affected also during awakening. And so this is the gland that activates and regulates metabolism and calcium balance in the body. And it can bring sensations around the throat, either tightness or loose, like feelings. You also may experience a Kundalini cough that can be like this area. It means something's happening in this area. And a side note is that this area, a chakra, is our expression chakra. And it also allows us to listen and hear others. So when it's balanced, it really can help you manifest your desires more authentically, because you can express yourself more authentically. And when it's balanced, it also helps you to communicate with more clarity and wisdom and discernment. So we say that when it feels balanced, we can speak more fearlessly and with more compassion. But the main thing is that we can also hear others when they're speaking to us. And I really can relate to that. Another significant area of impact is the adrenal glands, and that's related to the solar plexus. And this controls our body's fight or flight response and helps us to manage stress. And as Kundalini, it moves through that solar plexus, it can trigger more anxiety or more fear or just sudden bursts of energy. And as the adrenals adjust to that surge of energy, it can initially feel quite intense, and it can have various different outcomes. The main thing is that over time and with certain herbs, this can help to calm down the adrenal glands. And also, as your body adjusts to this Kundalini area energy, of course, it's going to help to balance that out as well, so that we can radiate more energy and a higher will. Solar plexus is our will chakra, associated with our will, and also enables us to bring our power out more into the world. The next one is a pancreas, related to the sacral chakra. And this is affected in the Kundalini process. This gland, it controls our insulin and blood sugar regulation. So the sacral chakra, that's below the navel, this is our area of creativity and where our emotions are, where our pleasure region is. And so when Kundalini activates that center, they can be highly emotional, and we might have a change in appetite, because this is our area of digestion. So our appetite might go down. We might experience constipation. And this won't happen until our body adjusts to that new flow of energy. Then we've got the gonads, the testes, and the ovaries, and that's linked it to the root chakra, both the root chakra and the sacral chakra. And we know that's responsible for our sexual and reproductive hormones. And this, again, once it's stimulated, we can either have heightened stimulation, heightened sensation in that region. And, the sacral area, like we just said, is our area of emotions. And If this is out of balance, we can have like these moments where our emotions are just like all over the place. We feel like crying, then we're laughing. So that's that sacral chakra. But yeah, if this area is blocked, we can feel also detachment, isolation, anxiety, low libido, or lack of creativity and inspiration. So finally, we've got the thymus gland at the heart. So this is the one that regulates our immune system and our heart chakra. It can bring a lot of emotions again. Our heart regulates emotions, circulation. We can feel heightened sensations of compassion and love for others. And we may feel warmth in our chest. We may feel expansion in our chest. And so you may also notice that, again, it's when we've got nourishment in our lives, when we've got good rest, good food, we notice that everything stays kind of in this homeostasis. But then when we've got influences of like, poor lifestyle choices where we stay up later than we should, or like we're eating more than we should, or we're eating the wrong foods, then you see, it's such a delicate kind of balance. That's what I want to impress on you. Not to give anyone guilt trips. All right. Yeah, because our attention needs to go in these areas, and that's what brings your body back into balance. We've got the building blocks of our bodies that relate to the Tanmatras, the Mahabhutas. And so we can use these elements for us to feel more balanced, okay, to bring us back into balance. So let's talk about where these are maybe in our body as a point of reference. So we're just getting to know our body a little bit more. So if we're talking about ether, where in our body can we find ether? Is the cavities and spaces in the body. Yeah, so the uterus, your sinuses, the intestines, and the gut. Yeah, spaces in the ear, openings, spaces, the nostrils. Air, we can find air. We can find air in the places where movement happens. So that, again, is the gut, the bowel, moving things through our body, the blood. And I was going to write this down, actually. Fire can be found in your blood again. Funnily enough, in your eyes, your vision, because that's our ability to perceive, to receive information and be able to transform it. And fire is that element of transformation. So we've got blood, we've got eyes, we've got our digestive tract. And we have water. So obvious place is our mouth, blood.
Urinary?
Yeah, urinary. Yeah, kidneys then. And then earth is the structure of our body. So that's our bones, bone mass, exactly. We've even got air in our bones. That spongy part in the middle of the bone is also air. But mucus, yeah, yeah. Yes, exactly. Water and earth. We're going to talk about that in a moment when we go into the doshas. Exactly. Muscles, thank you. Exactly. All those tissues like your tendons, ligaments, all the structural support of your body, basically. Okay. And so if you've heard of Ayurveda before, you've also heard about the doshas. Can't not have heard about the doshas. So the doshas are, because Ayurveda likes to categorize everything, we have ether and air, and that creates a vata dosha. I'm going to put this here. And fire and water makes pitta dosha. Earth and water makes kapha dosha. Can everyone read that? Yeah. So this is the building blocks of our body. So also we talked about this during the week. The joints have vata dosha. I mean, you can find in the joints pretty much every dosha, even if we're talking about pitta and kapha. Our hormones, pitta dosha. Women particularly are more of a hot type with their hormones. We have hot flushes, and our female body is is known for its heat. Men for their coolness, the cooler qualities. Okay. And one more for Earth is fat, adipose tissue. That was it. That was it. Adipose. Okay. And so, with this kind of deeper knowledge of our bodies, and we can start to notice when there is a balance in the body and when there's an imbalance, and when there is certain qualities in those tissues of the body, or at least in those areas. All right, let's take, for example, because Ayurveda likes to categorize not only our physical body and the elements of the earth, but also those qualities are in everything from plants to minerals. And so when we look at the plant life, they also have qualities to them. And so we have 20 qualities, 10 pairs of opposites. And so they're either going to be heavy, that means heavy means building, or they're going to be light, which means they're going to be reducing. This is important to kind of get. Once you get this, it kind of starts to fit in. And it's all right. You don't have to get it all in this one sitting. The idea is just to see what sits with you and see if you can recognize it in your everyday experience. Start to recognize it more and more in your everyday experience. So we have these two opposing qualities, yeah? The heavy or the light, the building or the lightening, the reducing qualities, two main opposing qualities. And then we have 10 pairs of opposites. So we have slow, intense, quick. We have cool, and then we have hot. We have oily or unctuous. Unctuous means it's like an oily heaviness. Then we have dry, which is the opposite. Smooth and rough. Solid, liquid. Slimy, clear. Cloudy, hard.
Would that be cloudy, clear, and slimy, hard?
No, oh yes, you're right. Yeah, it should be slimy, hard, cloudy, clear. Thank you. And stable, mobile, big, and subtle. And you can kind of see how they fit in with these qualities, right? So ether and air are very light in quality. They're clear, they're mobile. They're said to be rough and dry. And so all of these qualities belong to more Vata dosha. And then Pitta dosha, some of the qualities related to them would be hot. They're liquid. They're quick, intense, hot, dry. And then Kapha is more of these kind of heavy qualities, oily, solid, cloudy, stable, big. And then when we look at food, certain food items, for example, a carrot. Carrot is by quality, it's pungent, but it's also light, and it has hot qualities because it's pungent, and yet it's subtle, it's light. So if we're looking at that food, we would give that to someone that is more cooler by nature. And that is someone that's more Kapha dosha, that's more Vata dosha. If we give that to Pitta dosha, is going to increase the heat in their body, the heat of their body. And this is how we kind of balance out our physiologies, by feeding our bodies the right food. Or it's not that Pitta dosha would not be able to not have carrots. It means that they would add something else in that's cooling, more astringent and cool. So like apple or aloe vera or cilantro. So you kind of have to get used to these qualities and playing about with them. And it becomes kind of almost like, you know, I wouldn't say second nature, but it's kind of like you begin to tap into this wisdom. You get the transmission from the sages. As it's all the knowledge of, the wisdom that's within our bodies, within our bones. Our body knows this. In fact, our bodies are speaking to us all the time if we care to slow down and listen and take the time to really tune in, notice symptoms when they're coming up. Like, for example, Pitta dosha again. That type of body, that kind of constitution, when it's in balance, they are confident, strong leaders, but they're very driven. And so that driven nature in them can lead to burnout. It can lead to fatigue, immense fatigue, and yet they'll just keep pushing through it because they've got this Pitta nature that drives them. They've got a lot of fire, heat, intensity. And so we need to bring it back into balance. And the way that we do that is first and foremost through our diet, what we eat every day. This is how we sustain ourselves. Any questions? Anything that's kind of coming up so far?
Are you? I'm not sure. You might be getting into this. Your thoughts on like cooked versus raw food, and just like the Ayurvedic. I've heard so many mixed things. It becomes so confusing sometimes. Like raw food, some people say has like more prana,
Yeah.
but it's harder to digest. And I guess what are the trade-offs there? And it's something you can get into.
Yeah. Okay. So, as we've already kind of like established that there's 3 different constitutions, 3 different types of body, we've all got all 3. We've all got those 5 elements within every body. And yet we're still going to have this predominant one, or maybe you'll be dual dosha. So we're saying it's not one size fits all approach. We have to look at things in an individual way. And so when we're doing that, we say, we also look at your age. We look at the season that you're in, the location that you're in. So to simplify it and make it kind of broad for everyone to get benefit from what you've just shared, the difference with raw food, which is a very yogic way of eating, because as you've said, there's a lot of prana in that food, which is great if you have a strong digestive fire. That means you're digesting your food. You have the Agni, that's your digestive juices, to be able to really get the nutrients from that food. The problem is that a lot of people may not have that type of strong digestion or good digestion that they're processing the food. Now, there are also those other factors. So if we're a Vata dosha, or we have a Vata imbalance, they're the ones whose constitution is typically quite erratic and kind of all, a bit scattered. And so for them, their digestion, their Agni, is typically quite also erratic. Sometimes they have a really strong appetite, and other times they won't have any appetite at all and can go, just forget to eat. And so that kind of digestion is not a particularly strong digestion. And by all means, a Vata type person would not be recommended to eat more foods that are going to irritate them because they're dry and rough. So Ayurveda suggests to make it more palatable for the Vata type dosha, you want to eat more cooked foods. If you're a Pitta dosha, then you've typically got a very strong Tikshna Agni, a strong Agni, that digestive fire that can just eat through everything. You're hungry all the time, you've got an appetite. And you will benefit from raw foods. So you're the ones that can eat the raw foods, typically. And then the Kapha type dosha, they're the ones with the sluggish digestion. And that means that, you know, really typically they need 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, but very rarely 3 meals a day, because the digestion, their metabolism is so slow and sluggish. And so what they're doing is they're not digesting their meal. And so the best way to tell if you should eat and if you have got an appetite is through appetite. Like that appetite is a signal to your body, signaling you that you're ready to eat. It has secreted the digestive juices. It's preparing ourselves for food. And when, you know, like we get food in front of us, the first thing we do is we eat with our eyes, right? And so those digestive juices should be flowing, and then you sit down to eat your meal. If you're Kapha dosha and you're eating raw foods, that can really energize your body. It can be really good. And so it's just a case of eating the right amount then for your constitution. And then cooked foods, we know that during cooking foods, we're cutting out a lot of that time and energy that the digestive system needs to cook food and process food during the digestive process. So it's just easier food is easier to digest when we cook it, which means that you're going to get, you know, a better bowel movement, a more regular bowel movement. That's the real aim and purpose, is that we be able to excrete the waste from our body, you know, and get the nourishment and be able to excrete that, preferably in the mornings. So the other thing we're going to talk about next then, maybe, if that was satisfying, is our routine, our daily alignment to nature. So we get to see every day this cycle of the sun, the earth around the sun. We get to see the cycle every month around the moon. And then every year we have the seasonality to our year. And we can even see that heavying and lightening within the cycles of our days, our seasons, and in our year. So, okay, guesses. Who knows in a day what is the lighter cycle and what's the heavier cycle? Take a guess. Okay, so during our day, what's the cycle of the day? What does it associate with? With these two qualities.
Yeah, you're right there, light. No?
Yeah, so the light part of the day when the sun's out, we have more heat, there's more dryness, yeah, roughness, yeah, very mobile. And then in the evening, we have more of that building energy. It's cooler, you know, there's more, you know, digestive processes are happening. It's more of a building time for our body. And then, and that's why we need to eat during the daytime and why we don't eat during the nighttime. Because these processes, we're having processes happening to digest our day.
Depending on the hemisphere where the sun is out for much fewer hours than one world. So do you know what that ability?
So that would probably be more applicable to the seasons of the year. And so we're now in that more lighter time of the year. We've gone through what the equinox. So the sun is increasing in size. There's more sun, more light. It's more of a reducing. And then we've got more of those heavy qualities coming up in springtime. It goes into Kapha season, where we are now in a Vata season, Vata dosha season, winter. And then we go into more of a Kapha dosha season. And then summer is a lighter season, again, with the more heat and dry qualities. And then fall falls into light as well, because that's a time of Vata dosha.
So I have a question.
Yeah, for the day.
That's why the cleanses are in spring and fall. And I would have said fall is heavy, but it's light.
Yeah,
So you're getting one cleanse in a heavy season
yes,
and one cleanse in a light season.
absolutely. Yeah. So you can do things like, okay, so when we're talking about reducing, because we want to do the opposite, yeah? Reducing, lightening that Kapha season, which is spring. We use foods that are lighter to reduce the amount of Kapha buildup in the body. When we go into the summer, into fall season, we are doing more of a rejuvenation. We actually want to build a bit more. But we still simplify our diet at that time. But we add in, say, like more rejuvenating tonic drinks, more vegetables and fruits, more of that cleansing, cooling, reducing. It's still reducing because we want to reduce the amount of Pitta dosha. So it's more tailored to reducing Pitta dosha. And so now we can use these things in front of you, these sheets, for our checklists of what we can do in a day, that circle around the sun, to really start helping us to ground and energize our practice. The first thing, you've been doing this all week, right, is getting up as the sun rises. Because as we do that, what we do is we're in this light quality, and that helps us to stay light throughout our day. If we wake up at 9, even 8, we're in a heavy quality. We're in Kapha hour. So that cycle is Vata, 2 till 6 a.m., p.m., doesn't matter. Pitta. And this is really, really powerful when you start to plan your activities in your day around these hours and the natural abilities that you have around these times of the day. So the Vata time of the day is early morning or that after lunchtime. And so this is a time for more creativity. Remember we did this, Olinda, with your, we looked at your timetable and we worked this out. Yeah. Right, right. And so you might find that you naturally have more creativity. It's a good time to meditate at this time of the day. It's a time where you're better off doing things that don't overtax you, that you kind of slow down, take a tea and sit down and kind of a bit more kind of grounded, but do some activities that are gentle on the physiology. And then when we're in the more Kapha, so it's a great time and a natural time for you to excrete toxins from your body as well. So that time of the morning is good to make sure that you have a bowel movement and you scrape your tongue. Yeah, removing waste and toxins from the body. And then we've got Kapha hours, 6 till 10. And so these are a great time to be more physical, be more robust with your body. You've got more strength naturally at that time of the day. So it's good to do your yoga practice. Some pranayama would be great because that's it's good for Kapha dosha to make it feel more active and kind of like move away from the dullness, to do activities that are more with the breath work also. It might be also nice as well to use that time in the evenings to spend with your kids or your family or your loved ones more. And then Pitta dosha is that time of the day, in the middle of the day, where it's a really good time for you to use that energy for focus and concentration, to get things done, to do your work, because your focus is stronger.
My question was, for a Pitta predominant person, when would they want to work out, like something like weightlifting or like more intense exercise?
Yeah, so that would be good in the Kapha time of day, the Kapha hour, because that's when you naturally have more strength.
Oh, okay. So these aren't necessarily based on your...
No, exactly. So these aren't necessarily for your particular dosha, although it's very important for you to take note, because you may notice that, that's the time that I typically have headaches, you know, or this is a time that I typically, you know, don't have as much energy. Well, that might be that Vata hour. You might be pushing yourself too much in that time of the day, and you need to take a step back and do something that's a bit more to your constitution. Something more creative, something that's not too draining for you. This Pitta time of the day also is, in the evening from 10 till 2 a.m. So this can be also a time when Pitta doshas start to rev up for a second win of mental activity and focused time of research on Netflix, let's say, or YouTube. But actually, this is a time where we need to digest and process and transform the foods and impressions that we've had for the day. And so it's a really important, in Ayurveda, we say, like, as soon as the sun's gone down, you need to start winding down, not winding yourself up. And so we all know that red light, the blue light, the screens, they need to be switched off in that Kapha time. so that we can use that natural Kapha time where we start to slow down naturally, where we start to wind down from our day, to use that to get into bed by 10. So we get a good solid, 8 to 10. Some women need 10. It's proven by science. Women need more sleep than men because we use more of our brains. So it's great to sleep earlier. Science, it's science.
I'm wondering, like, this was based in India, where
Yes.
the amount of daylight and nighttime doesn't fluctuate that much.
Yeah.
Does this schedule like change in other countries where there's much lesser light a few times in a year? And
Yes. So it doesn't change because Ayurveda is based on an Ayurvedic, an Indian system, and so we don't want to adjust it too much. And actually, it feels really good not to adjust it too much because it's still a time where the sun has gone down. The sun has usually gone down, even in summertime, by 10, by like 9 o'clock in the evening is usually the latest. If you live somewhere like, crazy like Finland, of course, they have more sunlight, or St. Petersburg, Igor's told me. But generally, our suns set around, between 4 and 9:30, right? Even in summertime. And so it's still good to keep to this way, this dosha clock, this kind of schedule. And I know it can be harder in the summertime when there is more light, but the benefits speak for themselves. So, okay.
What about an energizing midday nap to get back to work? When's the best time to do that?
Yeah. So if you are a Pitta dosha and you're in the Pitta season, which is summer, it is recommended that you have an afternoon nap. If you're someone that's more of a Vata constitution or a Kapha constitution, the nap thing, especially for Kapha dosha, is not so beneficial because they're already slow. They have a slow metabolism, and what they need to do is more energizing things. Actually, I take it back. Vata dosha could have a nap, yes, in the middle of the day also, if they need that to energize again, re-energize. But you have less of a tendency to need a nap when you get to bed by 10, if you can. There's less of that tendency. And if there is still lethargy in the body, then that's something else, that's another problem or issue that you might need to, there might be something underlying with the health if you need to. But saying that again, we're all so different. It's like what your body's used to, or, what your family lineage, grandpa used to always have a nap at this time, or, you'll naturally need more sleep to catch up, then that might be something that's just genetic.
And I don't want to throw this off track at all, but I'm going to openly admit Ayurveda is really counterintuitive for me. I find all the categories and tracking, and does this, like, if a carrot, I can't look at a carrot and say that this is light. Like, I would be like, I don't know what this is. It's just not clicking somehow. So, like, and I understand that at some point maybe it will, and it'll just go clink, and I'll, oh, okay. And I'm still waiting for that moment. So there's hope. But like when I look at the dosha clock, I'm like, okay, if I'm Vata and I have some Pitta, how does the dosha, how does the dosha of the body interact with this dosha clock? Or are we all just treating the dosha clock as the same, that we should all do these particular activities at these hours, like family times at this hour? And how is it going all together? That's where I get lost. Like, it's just still all these kind of scattered categories for me. Can you thread it a little bit for me?
So, yeah, this is why I'm sharing the dosha clock with you, is because this is something that we don't even really need to know our particular dosha for. This is very general. And if you want to study a little bit more about your dosha, then I have a course coming up called Discover Your Dosha. And I also have a Nourish Your Nature course, which is, it really helps you to kind of understand these food principles a lot better. But it's like anything, you know, if you come to Spain, you're not going to just instantly speak Spanish. You have to practice. You have to like see it and hear it and, you know, live it. That's the main thing. A few times, like you have to run it through. And it isn't necessary. It is like a new language for us. Although once you do get it, it's like common sense. It's like, of course, but yeah, my body reacts in this way and I can feel it and I can see it. And it's very subtle, but your body's speaking to you all the time through signs and symptoms, the way that you feel, energy levels and everything like that. So it's really like, you know, just this tool to be able to support and regulate your body at a more of a refined level. Then that's not to say that, you know, you're not already doing great. So this dosha clock, how you can start to integrate it if you're a Pitta or a Vata type, is noting these hours of the day and just noting how you feel at these hours of the day. Like, how do I feel more creative between 2 and 6? Do I feel like I want to slow down naturally a bit, like and have a cup of tea or just, you know, do some writing, some journaling? How does that feel for me? When it's Pitta time of the day, do I feel a big appetite at that time between 10 and 2? Have I got an appetite to eat? Do I want to study and learn things? You know, is there more of that velocity to do those things? When it comes to 6 to 10 in the evening, do I want to spend time cuddling with my partner and relaxing more and winding down to go to bed? And so it's about using those natural qualities of that are embedded in the, you know, matrix of the cycle around the sun to our benefit, you know, so that we don't push ourselves and burn out, so that we can regulate and balance the endocrine system of our body and the nervous system. That's clear? Yeah?
Yeah, that's helpful.
You're welcome. So now the morning type activities, again, going back to that. So drinking some warm water to really kickstart your digestion is good. And so maybe you're already doing that. which is great. But something new that I just learned, which is really, I think, helpful, from Andre Morales. He wrote the Liver Cleanse book. He's also got an Ayurvedic background. And he suggested that you have 1 cup of warm water for your kidneys, so you can excrete any waste that built up over the evening, over the night. And then you have 1 cup for your GI tract. So that's to help metabolisms kickstart. So you have 2 cups of warm water, just plain warm water, or with lemon juice, or with lime juice, or with coriander seeds, if you're more Pitta dosha, or mint, you know, to reset your digestive system and remove toxin. And then we've got tongue scraping. Who here's got a tongue scraper? Everyone. Gold stars. Oh, so tongue scraping, it stimulates the tongue and all those nerves and everything in the tongue. And so why do you need to do that? Is because your gut, you know, overnight while you're sleeping is doing its work, and there's often an excess mucus and slime and cloudy substances that come up from the gut that build up on the tongue. And so scraping that off in the morning helps detoxify not only your taste buds and the way that you taste food, but it also helps to detoxify your mouth and the bacteria in your mouth, which is, as we know, really important because it's one of the first places that disease can start to build. So we're in this Kapha time of the day in the morning. So this is a really nice time also to get moving, as I mentioned before, either doing some yoga stretches, 10 rounds of sun salutation, or going for a walk. And so Dr. Shuhas came into our club and he gave a lovely talk about the circadian rhythms. And he said that you only need 11 minutes of cardiovascular exercise to reduce heart disease by 75%. Yeah, in over a lifetime. So I think it's worth doing 11 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. And that could be anything from like gentle walking, you know, cycling, dancing, let your imagination run wild. So meditation and breath work is ideal to do in that Vata time of the day. That's the known as the Brahmastana, the time of the day when everything is quiet outside and, you know, the world is kind of in this place of stillness. Maybe the birds are waking up and everything, but that's an ideal time to meditate in the morning and in the afternoon.
Can I get some questions?
Absolutely.
I see here in the notes it says just after sunrise for Pitta. So it's kind of like, is there a difference there between
for each dosha? Yeah. So if you're a Pitta dosha, it could be at sunrise. If you're a Vata dosha, it can be just after sunrise. They tend to need a little bit more sleep and rest.
I found it like affirming to read that like I can get up, but as soon as the sun comes up, I'm like up. There's a very different thing. It feels like a cycle hasn't even finished sometimes if I get up before sunrise. And it's just something I've noticed in myself a lot. So yeah, curious of that, because sometimes, at least for scheduling in life, it's like I would like to get up, sit down, do my meditation, but it seems like a real forcing to get there.
Yeah, going against your nature. Yeah, well, it's good to notice. It's great. Okay, let's go back into it then. And I just thought I'd bring up some tonic herbs that you could use to weave back in or weave back to the endocrine system to balance the body, because that's typically the time that we would take our supplements and supplementation. And so I've just picked out a few that I really think are powerful tonic herbs for the body. And of course, I'll try to give you the contraindications as well. So, number one herb is moringa, as an antioxidant and an anti-inflammatory tonic herb. And so it's cultivated from its pods and its leaves and its drumstick-like type stalk. It's used in many parts of Asia as a vegetable, so not just dry powder, but you can get the actual plant and create soups out of it. It's good to be cut up and used in most of your recipes. And so the reason it's really valuable in Ayurveda and all across Asia, and it's known as like the miracle tree because of its, really diverse amount of benefits. It's got a super high amount of protein in it, and it's got 10 times more vitamin C than carrots, 7 times more vitamin C than oranges, 17 times more calcium than milk, 15 times more potassium than bananas, and 25 times more iron than spinach.
What is it called?
Moringa.
Moringa.
Yes, moringa. It's good for arthritis, inflammatory skin disorders. It's great for weight loss. It's good to speed up wound healing and managing blood glucose.
Can we find it in the West?
Yeah, very much so. It's excellent for the liver and protects against non-alcoholic fatty liver acid disease. And some scientists even say that moringa's bark and its properties can help kill cancers. And that's breast, liver in particular, and the colorectal cancers.
The leaves too, or just the...
Yes, it's leaves and bark.
Is powder moringa okay? Is it powder?
Yeah, so the powder is good, equally as good. It's a little bit heating. So it's good for Vata dosha, very good for Kapha dosha. In Pitta dosha, they need to take it intermittently because it can push Pitta dosha. It's quite heating, but it's fairly heating. Next one is licorice. Not only does it taste good, studies suggest that it helps to reduce inflammation as well. So it's very good when you've got a cough or a cold. You can take it then because it helps to fight viruses and bacteria. It can help relieve sore throat, so very good for your throat region. It protects against dental cavities if you have it in your teeth, in your dental paste. It helps to manage heartburn, and it's very good for your digestive system. So if you're someone that suffers from, bless you, bloating, nausea and belching, or stomach ulcers, it's also cooling and beneficial for that too. So you may have guessed it, it's very good for Pitta dosha, but it's also very good for Kapha and Vata dosha. So everyone can take licorice root. And then you've got Gota Cola. So it's known as the longevity herb, and it's been proved that it can help anxiety disorders. It reduces stress, and people with depression, after replacing their antidepressants with Gota Cola, they see marked results within 60 days. I'm not suggesting that you do that if that's something that you're taking, but it has benefits for people with depression or anything to do with the mental, the way the mind thinks. And it can sometimes be used. So Brahmi is another herb with very similar qualities. And so you may hear Brahmi or you may hear Gota Cola. There is a slight difference in their Latin name, but they have very, very similar properties. That is to really give us that luminous mind and improve memory. I know, I took it for years. It's really great stuff. So it also has benefits for stretch marks, for reducing varicose veins. It helps wounds heal faster, diminishes skin problems like eczema.
Do you perhaps know if the Brahmi powder, is it always concentrated in the same amount? So it's like, can I take just a teaspoon? Because it's not really clear to me sometimes, depending on the brand, if it's the same, or does it not matter that much? Sometimes we think too much as the normal medicine, dosage.
Yeah. Not that easy to tell. And typically, we're talking about brands and everything. I like to have them in capsules from a reputable source. And the most reputable source that I get my products from is the Maharishi Ayurveda products. And so they have a capsule that's a really good price. But yeah, if you take it in a powder form and then pack it, I imagine that typically it would be the same dosage, and then if you measure with teaspoons, it's by gram. So if you have a teaspoon of it, you're having 5 grams. And with Brahmi, you can take 10 to 12. It's actually quite, it was banned in the UK at some point because it has conscious altering effects, side effects. And yeah, I mean, come on, they license everything else, but yeah.
10 to 12 teaspoons or 10 to 12 grams?
No, grams. So that that's one of the higher doses, and that's throughout the day. So you would take 1 teaspoon in the morning and 1 teaspoon in the evening, yeah, or at lunchtime before food. You wouldn't necessarily need to take the whole dosage, you see?
Do you need to interrupt it like after a period, or can you just like forever?
So it is best to tune into that kind of like body wisdom and really like notice, are you feeling ungrounded? You know, these are the kind of things like, there's too much happening up here. There's too much lightness happening, too much of that light quality. And that's typically what Brahmi's effect is. So then you would not use it anymore, or you're feeling, ungrounded. The plants that we're suggesting, supplements, they all work synergistically with your body to bring it back into homeostasis. And we should notice the subtle differences within our body. And so typically, you can take one of these plants for 3 months and then give yourself a break until you feel like your body needs it again. You don't have to like take it throughout every day of the year. Yeah. You just take it till you feel like your body needs it, and then notice, okay, I'm a bit more forgetful again. I'm going to go back and take a little bit more, you see? Or like moringa, which is like densely, as we shared, like it's got so many nutrients in it. Our body will feel that instant kind of like bouncing back. That's what I gave Angela. If you didn't notice, it only took her like 1 day and she was like, boom, smiling and back to herself again. And that was like moringa, you know, because it's got so many minerals and vitamins for the body. So when it's feeling depleted, you just feel that instantly. But you take it then for 3 months, see, like, do I need to continue taking it? Is it the right season to take it? Because the season would have changed typically. Is this the right season to take something that's going to heat up my body more? Does that make sense? Or cool it down. Brahmi is found in Maharishi Ayurvedic products. That's a really good source to get it. The best source. And so going back to Brahmi, just one last time, it is very good for Pitta dosha and Kapha dosha. It can kind of increase Vata, maybe too much, and so wouldn't be great for Vata necessarily for long-term use. Yeah.
So the insight that I'm having right now is that you can use some of these things more like medicinally. Like it's not so much, you know, if you're Vata, have this, or if you're Pitta, like take this. It's more like where you're at to like equalize, essentially. Is that like,
exactly? Bring yourself back into balance, to come back into harmony again. And you know, plants are our friends, our allies. But it's like any good friend, you know, you can get tired of them, or you need to change, or, you know, like you can't get everything from one source. And so that's why another reason why you kind of change with the season, because you need different things at different times. So another plant that's very popular now in the West, you've heard of it probably, is ashwagandha. Okay. This is a more typical one, and for good reason, right? It's the strength of the horse, strength of this, or smell of a horse. That's what it translates at. And so we know the horse has got lots of vitality, lots of strength. But not only that, it helps to build our immune system, calms down anxiety and any mental processes that we have. It really improves our sleep. So if you're struggling with sleep issues, taking ashwagandha for some time, typically they say it works within 2 weeks of taking it, starting to take it. And you might notice, like with herbs, is it working? You know, am I taking the right dosage? And so you can play around with the dosage a little bit until you start feeling it, till you start feeling the benefits of it. Typically, plants don't have side effects, but you would notice if you were taking it and you started to have, you know, loose stools or something like that, that means like, depending on which herb it is, that you need to maybe back up a little bit. So that also helps with prostate care, but it's not for women that are pregnant or breastfeeding. Next is Triphala. Heard of it?
Trefoil?
Triphala.
It's different than trefoil.
Yes. So Triphala is the famous formula from Ayurveda with 3 fruits: Amla, Bibitaki, and Haritaki. And so this combination formula of has been used because it's really beneficial for many things, but mainly your digestive system and aging. It reduces aging. Inflammation, arthritis, and again, cancer. It can even help with. It's mostly used, I would say, as a laxative. If you're someone that suffers from constipation, or there's some kind of like irritability in the gut movement or sluggish gut movement. It can be used also to help reduce the buildup of plaque in your mouth and for gum inflammation. So you can use a mouthwash with it. You just break a capsule with some water and swish around with your mouth to help any, like, just bad inflammation in the mouth that you may be experiencing. It's really good for that. It's really good for your eyes. You just have to make sure that you strain those bits. So it's just the water, the essence of it. Another way you could do it is like you put the powder in a glass of water and then leave it overnight. And by the evening, you'll just have like the top will be the water of the Triphala. And so you could use that for treating your eyes. It's also great for facials, face masks. When we did that at our retreat, it can help with the aging skin. It can really, really help skin pigmentation, delays aging. It really brings out the glow in your skin, in your face. And so you just mix 1 tablespoon of that with 2 tablespoons of yogurt or honey, 2 tablespoons of honey, and then put that on your skin, leave it on for 30 minutes, and it's a wonderful treat for your skin.
What does it do for the eyes?
Your eyes?
Yeah, what does the Triphala do for the eyes?
Okay, so again, it's inflammation, redness, soreness. When there's, styes in your eye, it's really good for that.
I have a lot of heat. Like I've been using the rose oil, rose. I also just, put rose water on my face. Would it be good for that? Or just that feeling of heat coming out of the eyes?
Right. I would use more for that something like cucumbers, just something over the eye like a cucumber to bring down the heat if you feel that's there. This is more like for that kind of red sore inflammation that's typical of conjunctivitis or something like an eye stye. A bit more. Okay, should we go back to our daytime checklist? Okay. So let's move into the middle of the day. What kind of things do we see on there? So to help us stay centered and balanced whilst managing the stress of our work day, usually work day or family day, whatever you've got going on. So the idea is to, we're in that Pitta time of the day, so we're trying to reduce Pitta, dosha, as it builds up. And so we want to move our body gently, stretching, releasing any stagnant energy. So like we all know the benefits of moving every 20 minutes from our desk and just taking a walk around to help, to move the body, to release that stagnant energy. And then when we go into the Vata time of the day, after noon, 2 to 6, making ourselves a herbal tea, you know? Typical nice Ayurvedic teas would be a Tulsi tea, a chamomile tea, something that's going to help us to, you know, get ready for the day. So chamomile is good for Pitta dosha, Tulsi is good for Kapha dosha, because it adds heat. Chamomile can also be, or either of those can be used for Vata dosha to help calm down the nervous system.
I like to drink everything cold, including tea, and coffee, even in the wintertime. So why is everybody so against that?
Yeah. And you would, because you're Pitta dosha. We just established that. And so that's going to feel kind of cooling for your stomach. But the principle of drinking more warm teas still applies to you. It's just not hot teas. You see the difference between warm and hot. So the principle behind it is that your kidneys will absorb that water more easily, so it's more effective. It's like, if you can imagine the example, you're going out into the water and you kind of like contract. You can, when you hit cold water, it's the same kind of reaction that your soft tissues have inside your gut. And so that can have a negative effect when you're talking about digestion, and also like the capillaries and these smaller channels in your body. Things can be absorbed more when it's warm. It's the same, like we warm up oils for you, put them on your skin for a massage, because it's going to go deeper into the tissues. You know, it's the same principle. It's going to go deeper into your tissue. So, of course, we're going to be avoiding caffeine until midday to prevent overaction of the adrenal glands. And then we should have already had, obviously, at midday, hopefully, our balanced lunch with grounding, fresh and seasonal foods that are spiced and prepared with your dosha in mind. And then, you know, as we mentioned, Pitta, if we're in that Pitta time of the day, we're doing a lot of intense work, or even if we're in that Vata time of the day, we want to take breaks. We want to take breaks to allow our nervous system to calm down. So like, you know, just go outside, smell the flowers, put your feet on the ground, for example, and diffuse that energy. Let's go into our evening checklist to unwind and prepare our body for a restorative sleep. So we want to have a warm, light dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before we plan to go to bed, ideally, and that helps us to digest our food before we get, you know, so it doesn't sit in our stomach when we're sleeping. And this really helps the digestion, support your metabolism. And again, sip on some herbal teas. So some nice relaxing teas would be valerian root and fennel tea for, again, digestion, to promote digestion. Ideally, you could go for like a 10-minute walk after dinner as another great Kapha time of the day activity. We want to allow ourselves to turn off our screens Yeah, 1 hour before bedtime. We could do, instead of scrolling our phones, an abhyanga for our hands or our feet. So that means like some nice warm oils and just, gently massaging our hands or massaging our feet. And that is that relaxation. That could be our cue, a trigger to say to your body, okay, I'm winding down now. I'm getting ready for bed. I'm slowing down. I'm taking that sacred time to nourish and support myself, especially your nervous system. And that's because your hands and your feet have so many nerve endings. So it affects, most systems of the body.
What do you suggest for someone who, I don't like taking breaks? I like to do things with a lot of focus for several hours, 2 to 3 hours. And this is going to sound funny, but I actually don't mean it funny. I find breaks boring. I find like massaging oil on myself really boring. So I like to have like a podcast going or some input happening. And what do you suggest for someone who's like that? I'm not incentivized to really slow down like that, and I don't have any trouble falling asleep. I hit the pillow, I'm out. So
Yeah.
I don't know, any ideas about that?
Yeah, I think it's an important point that you've raised, that you don't feel as if there's any stress in your body. You don't feel like you're carrying, stress or a feeling of fatigue at all, or excessive fatigue. There's no endocrine system type issues.
It's not that I don't get tired. I definitely probably could use more breaks. And I do enjoy going for a walk.
Okay.
Something that's a little more active for breaks.
Yeah.
But things like, you're saying like do a warm oil thing. I'm just like, oh my God, no, like that just sounds so boring to me. And it's really an issue. Like I'm not probably taking as good of care as or taking enough breaks because I don't know, am I just craving overstimulation or something? Take your mind away.
No, it's fine. I think like, a lot of us, we get into a cycle and habits behaving like a certain level of stress. You've just been at a retreat all week without a podcast or without any other stimulation. You've just had, the stimulation of being in, a different type of mode. And what I'm saying is you can take that into your day. You can take that, a type of, blissfulness or restoration for your body, rejuvenation for your body into your everyday, just a little bit. I'm not saying that you can't still have 7 hours of focus work. I'm not saying that at all. And so I mentioned at the beginning, like somewhere in your day, you're going to be able to fit one of these in. I'm not expecting anyone to do all of these things necessarily. Yeah. It's about seeing what you can bring more into your lifestyle with joy, with pleasure, that feels really pleasurable and exciting. Even if it's just like, well, I'm just going to try Amrita's, evening hand massage and see how you feel. Because that's the thing, is like mostly because you've never done that. Maybe you've probably never spent the time to actually just sit down, gaze at the sunset and give yourself a nice warm hand massage for, like 10 minutes to pause.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've tried it. A lot of this stuff.
And so that's great. You might not want to do it every day. That's fine. But if you put it in twice a week, 3 times a week, you would notice a difference in your stress level. That's what I'm saying.
And I'm incentivized to not focus for too long a time, because otherwise I invite headaches. So, but that's me, of course. If you're free of that, then good for you. But I had a question about hydrating the skin and oil. Maybe you can say something on the distinction between using body milk versus oil. Like, what's the basic potential advantage of oil? And different kinds of oil, because I have experienced a few like very remarkable results. Like, for example, oiling the soil of the feet. I mean, the
Sole of the feet.
the sole of the feet, yes, with sesame oil, for example, before going to sleep.
Yeah.
And sleep is much deeper and much more relaxing. So that's very special. But yeah, anything more around oil, like versus body milk and types of oil.
Yeah, so in Ayurveda we call oil sneha, which is also used, the same word is used for love. And the scientific kind of more exploration of why oil is because it nourishes your skin. It's typically got none of the nasty parables and added things. So it's harmonious with the skin. It sinks deeply into the tissues. And that's why typically over, say, like a lotion, even if it's a really good lotion, it may be just too light. It doesn't go deeper than the first tissue of the skin, the first layer of the skin, whereas an oil will go deeper into the skin. And you mentioned about the foot massage with sesame oil for the evenings. And in fact, yeah, it's really one of the best ways to get a really good quality sleep. Yeah, so I'm glad that you're trying that out, noticing the difference. So if we're looking at the different doshas and what would be more suitable. So like typically Kapha doshas, Pitta doshas are more oily, and so their skin may be more oily and they might not like having oil on their skin. And that's why you can do the oil massage before taking a warm shower in the morning for the whole body, if that feels beneficial and very calming for the nervous system, which it is. But if you have really dry skin, you have more vata quality skin, that oil just insulates your skin, which is the largest organ, right? And creates nourishment for it. So it's that nourishing aspect. It's that that touch aspect that's really good for Vata dosha. Vata loves touch, gentle touch, soothing touch. Well, don't we all? But you'll notice that if you're Vata dosha, it really benefits you. What else do I want to say about that? And that's one of the reasons why we were massaging the body in the morning, because it really helps to ground your Vata dosha, really helps to ground the body. And then, typically I've said, go to bed by 10, last train leaves at 11 p.m. As one of Maharishi's way of describing that sweet spot of going to bed. Because we know that we all have like events and life still goes on, right? But we really want to try to avoid, eating into our 7 to 9 or 10 hours of quality sleep rest. So one of the things I haven't put on there, I've got herbal teas, but also milk. It could be another way of soothing yourself to sleep. Some almond milk, some goat's milk with some spices like cardamom, saffron, turmeric can really be beneficial for you too. The main thing that I kind of tell the ladies in my club, my holistic health club, is that we want to shift, and the way that we do it is through a trigger. And so these on the checklist here are just some triggers that could trigger you to say, from like being in work mode, being in activity mode, okay, I need to slow down, I need to get ready for bed and wind down. I'm just going to pick one of these triggers, you know. Oh, I missed out the aromatherapy oil. Can't miss out the aromatherapy oil. So yeah, it could be if you don't want to do the whole hand massage, that you just put a few drops of lavender oil on your hands and just inhale it and take a breath, and that way you're breathing, yeah, relaxing breath, and you're just doing the essential oil to help soothe you, or you could place it in one of those diffusers. And that's been really helpful for one of the ladies in the club, is that this is going off and she knows, like, okay, I'm going to switch out from work mode into my evening routine and start to wind down for the night. Another great way to calm down the nervous system before bed, if you get really wired, is having a bath. Having a bath or nice warm bath, that really helps you to calm down and start to feel sleepy. Could be your meditation or your yoga nidra, alternate nostril breathing, all help to get into that deep relaxation. Okay. So, like, let's look at the whole week now. What kind of things can we bring into our week that could help us when we're feeling overstimulated and we need to reduce that? One of the most simplest things that you can do is to reduce social media, reduce digital, you know, the digital, that all that ether that we receive from the internet is often very agitating for Vata dosha, Pitta dosha, keeps pushing. So to reduce that when you feel overstimulated. Often that irritation, agitation, you know, that we get from that builds into anxiety and fear can be because we're not putting enough activity in our day in terms of, like, you know, conscious movement. Like, I love to go out for a walk every morning because I know that's going to help me energize for the day. It's going to help the lungs and the cardiovascular system push lymph around and stuff like that. But if I've had a day where I'm like on the computer and I've been working a lot and I haven't done that movement aspect, if I haven't added that into my day, I think you were saying something like that, like you need to go to the gym, right? So yeah, it's really important for your health, really important to get out any irritation, build up of stress in the body, is to have a focused and conscious movement practice daily. And we're going to talk more about the foods in a minute. Another great tip for your morning, or at least once a week, if you do a lymphatic drainage, a dry brush for the body, for the skin. Not only does it make your skin glow, but it detoxifies your skin as well. Taking a salt bath with magnesium salts really helps with the muscles and the nerves. So that can be that once a week that you do that. And journal about your emotions to really help identify any habits or patterns that are no longer serving you, or notice, it helps you to also notice any imbalances that are happening. You can have a daily practice or you can have a once a week practice, but that time to reflect and pause is really essential. I've got some prompts in your little workbook there that can help you for each dosha. Let's look at our diet a little bit closer to balance our nervous system and regulate and balance our hormonal system. So one of the main things that we need to do is get some omega-3 fatty acids in our diet. If you're on a plant-based diet only, then flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, these are all great sources. Personally, I love just sprinkling the chia seeds. I love to have a tablespoon of the pumpkin seeds. Igor does that every morning, every day. He's like has a bowl of the dark green pumpkin seeds that he just chews on in the morning for breakfast. And that's just been a habit that he's built up from his childhood, because, you know, it's known that pumpkin seeds, well, not only do they have omega-3 fatty acids, they're also excellent for parasites in your system. So worms, it's really good for deworming.
Good for the balls too.
Yep. Good for the boys.
Same thing. I realize that.
And then we want to eat more leafy greens and our cruciferous vegetables, as your kales, your broccolis, your cauliflowers. Particularly good to be cooked, right? Especially if you're a Vata dosha, you want to have them steamed lightly, not overcooked, not undercooked, right? But tender and cooked through. And so they're really good for liver detoxification, really great for balancing your hormonal system, getting fiber into your body. And then we talk about warming spices. So if you want to increase your digestion, if you're someone with a sluggish or irregular digestion, that's a Kapha dosha typically, or Vata dosha, then you need warming spices, because your body is typically more colder, and and you can tell that by your digestion being more irregular. So sipping on ginger teas throughout the day, or including ginger into your food, fresh ginger, is less heating than dry ginger. Dry ginger is excellent for Kapha doshas. It might dry out Vata dosha if you have too much of it. Cinnamon, excellent spice. Turmeric, black pepper. And of course, like if you're Kapha dosha, you can go for cayenne chili. You can do all the spices, no problem. And then if you have like an overactive digestion, loose stools, you are constantly hungry, then you need to cool down your digestive system. And that means having spices that are more cooling, like mint, cilantro, coriander. These are your three saviors. There's other things that you can do, like use herbs as well. But these three are really good. Not only are they flavorful, but they are really, really good for cooling down Pitta dosha type activity.
Where does parsley rate in there?
Parsley is actually warming. Yeah, so that would be great in springtime, which is when it typically is like more available. It might be too heating for Pittas in the summertime, especially if like it's with typically tomatoes or something like that, might not be great for them. But yeah, parsley can be great for Kapha dosha and for Vata dosha, really super high in vitamin K. You can mix it with sunflower seeds and make a paste from it, which is a really nice spread for the mornings, high protein. Did you know that it's like cumin, fennel, parsley, carrots, they're all part of the same family? Yeah. No.
Cumin, parsley,
Fennel seeds, carrots. And then if you want to create a balanced meal on your plate, you want to make sure that you have protein at every meal, you know, so lentils, chickpeas, eggs, typically good lacto-ovo vegetarian, cheese, tofu, etc. And that really helps to balance your blood sugar. I'm sure everybody knows that already, but just to mention that, like, even at breakfast time, if you're someone that has oatmeal, because this is something that some people still do, is if you have oatmeal, to add in some seeds in it to make it more blood sugar balancing, so that you're less hungry, you know, like you're not hungry in 2 to 3 hours when that's passed through you. So it's very easy to digest. Snacking on seeds like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds are great hormonal support, excellent for us ladies and men, of course. But they really have like a really wide range of minerals in them. I like to make a radiant sprinkle, I like to call it, which is the flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and a little bit of sesame seeds into a sprinkle. So you just put that on your salad, you can put that on your soups, you can put that in your pasta or anything, and just have that as a condiment on the table. Okay, there was a lot there. And I hope it was very helpful.
Do we have a written list of the herbs? Because the different herbs you can share with us?
I'm going to give that out in tomorrow's workshop, okay, which you're in. So, yeah, we're going to go a little bit deeper into those there.
To pay a visit to the
herbs.
The herbal
yeah.
shop.
Yeah, local, shop local. Cool.
Funny enough, the moringa actually grows in Asia a lot.
Yeah.
And people just eat it there, like, you know, like spinach, like anything. They have it in almost every meal, basically.
I know.
And it's actually heating, and they are in the hot.
Yes, 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 yes. And I think Linda also asked me, because culturally in Mexico, right, they eat a lot of spicy, hot foods, like everything's really spicy and things like that. Typically in India, you'll have very spicy, hot foods. And what this does is it makes you more rajasic, makes you more passionate, driven, you know, but that takes you away from sattva. And what we're trying to do is create more sattva in our diet and our choices. That's the switch, change in perspective, is that we're not kind of like always outwardly motivated, that there's this kind of inner state of peace and equilibrium that we want to maintain for longer periods of time throughout the day. We all go we all go into that state, but the point is to stay in it for longer periods, right? Because the sattvic state is a state where we don't create diseases, where nothing really kind of affects us too much. Like we can overcome stressful situations and challenges when we're more sattvic. But when we're more rajasic, more driven, outwardly passionate, then that's what creates the dis-ease in our body, typically. Go ahead, Doris.
Excuse me. Is castor oil okay for a self-massage?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really good.
It's not too thick.
It is thick.
Yeah.
But it's got lots of benefits to it. And as long as you don't mind the sensation on your skin, it can go really deeply into the tissues. I love it because it helps encourage me to go slower with the touch and throughout the process. So it's a really good oil to use for Abhyanga.
Okay, thank you.
It's great to leave on your skin overnight. You can really see a difference.
Yeah, I
You
use
can
it
put
on my
all
face.
over your face.
Mm-hmm.
Castor oil.
Do you want to ask something?
Sorry, did you have
I don't know why I raised my hand. But Dr. Suhas prescribed a castor oil internal cleanse, and that wasn't the most fun.
Oh.
but it was very helpful. I felt like really light, obviously, afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just, doesn't castor oil, it has like some ancient like history, right? Like it's been used since like ancient Egypt. And,
Absolutely. Yeah, in many cultures. Yeah. I think fire has something to...
What should you do for like intense sugar cravings? That's one. And then two, what's the effects of alcohol in this perspective?
So one of the best ways that I've helped to reduce sugar cravings quite steadily, consistently, is through cleansing the body. And so taking, like maybe doing a 3-day cleanse to start with, where you just kind of eat a mono diet and really simplify. Your body kind of then will change its preferences. It reduces that, habit of eating something sweet. And then, there are other things that you can do, which is to suck a cardamom pod, things like that. But I found the most effective one is to do a cleanse. And you can start off with a 3-day, then you can go 10-day, you can go 21-day. And then alcohol is heating and drying for the system. So typically, and tamasic, exactly.
I feel like first maybe it is tamasic, but I feel registic qualities at first, and then there's a pullback to a tamas state after that. Any context or?
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to combat here, is to stay out of those kind of like anything that's going to really dull the mind, dull the senses for too long. And so, alcohol, it's not, like said, Ayurveda does do actually formulas with alcohol. It has their own wines, amavesas, but they're herbal ones. So they've got the added benefit of the plant extract. And just to say, like, Ayurveda doesn't say anything's wrong or anything's right or anything's good or bad like we typically do in the West. We just say it's like one man's poison is another man's medicine, so there are certain people, supposing if you're very alkaline, like you have a very alkaline diet, like Vamadeva does, he drinks a lot of green tea, he doesn't eat meat, he doesn't have a lot of sugar, And so his body is naturally very alkaline. And when he went to the doctor, he said, a glass of red wine every now and again would be actually beneficial for your body.
What's the frequency for that?
Well, first of all, make sure your body's and your diet is alkaline.
I'll make it alkaline.
Yeah, or take the herbal wines. Try one of the herbal wines.
Hierbas from Ibiza or something.
But also, alcohol has a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah.
And so I find when I'm craving some kind of alcohol out of the blue, every once in a while, I'm really craving sugar.
Fire ones, I think. Oh, sorry.
3 tablespoons of castor oil was too much. I don't know if you got the 3 tablespoon. I just made it home in time. Can you dilute the castor oil to put on your skin? Would it, so that you can? I know I'd like to try it on my whole body. Is it okay? Like, would it still be beneficial if you diluted it with sesame or?
Yeah, jojoba or
okay.
Yeah, almond. Absolutely. Yeah.
What is good for, excuse me, a dry chronic cough and like weakness like in here?
So you're pointing to your chest,
Yeah.
the upper respiratory
Yeah.
tract.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trachea is higher. This is chest, upper respiratory. So this is the area typically above the stomach where Kapha dosha resides. And your constitution is very Vata dosha. And you're also at the Vata stage of life. So you can see there's like a depletion of moisture and like unctuousness. Yeah. So we need to bring in more of those things into your diet, and that could be more dairy because milk is very unctuous, very oily. It could be almonds. It could be something that's seeds. It could be in terms of your diet, making sure that you have a tablespoon of ghee on your food at every meal, because that will bring in that more oily, unctuous quality to your upper respiratory tract area. And herbs. Yeah, if you wanted to take herbal remedies, a good one that comes to mind is like that mellow, like a marshmallow type of, or sarsaparilla, some, licorice. That's what the suggestion is, right? Is to bring more of that calm and presence, awareness, alertness, yet clarity and presence to your day. And there's no expectation at all that you're going to complete this checklist every day. You might not need to. It might be, once every other day, or how you can fit it in. And so I hope that's clear. The best way to experience this, which is what Ayurveda is meant to be, is it's experienced. It's an experiential thing. And the changes will be really subtle. Doesn't mean that there can't be fast changes as well that you notice. But it's meant to be also shared from heart to heart you receive a transmission, as Igor says, when you're in an environment where you feel inspired to learn. And that's one of the reasons why I've created these courses. I have the Nourish Your Nature course, which is another 6-week exploration of Ayurvedic food and how to really use the spices and the herbs and how to cook and how to even create a meal plan for yourself for 30 days. You know, you do that at the beginning of the season and then you've got it up somewhere and then you can like, oh, okay, these are the type of meals that are going to be really balancing for me for the next, you know, over this coming season. So that's another really great tool. When you're first getting started with Ayurveda, you need these kind of like, you know, just guidelines to make it simpler, to make it faster, to make it more at the touch of your fingertips and ready to implement into your life. And they also, in that course, we share more on the self-care tips as well. So it's all combined, it's all really experiential. So that's another thing. One of the ladies that took my class, she said that she was amazed at how she made food orgasmic, you know, which I thought was really lovely because she said she put the food in her mouth and she literally couldn't believe that she had prepared that food herself. For the first time, she was like able to make the wonderful dishes. She got her gut health on track and she lost weight as well, and effortlessly, right? Because when you're eating the right foods, it really makes a difference, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTube channel and the recipes. I got over 200 recipes on the Ayurveda Anytime platform, so you can try out what some of the recipes are like for yourself. And of course, if you're in the workshop tomorrow, you're going to taste them for yourself. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.